He was the one that moved up, Canelo did not move down. Debuting at super middleweight in what could possibly be the final fight of its legendary career. With high stakes, man, Terence Crawford had a lot to prove with this fight because Canelo brought up an interesting point about Crawford's legacy. He asked Crawford, who did you beat in comparison to my legacy? Well, now Crawford can say he beat Canelo Alvarez. In a definitive fashion, he outboxed Canelo for the most part of the fight, at distance, in the pocket, barraged him with combinations, and skillfully pot-shotted throughout the fight. Canelo gave him all of the praise. He said he's grateful to share the ring with the best in the world, referencing Terence Crawford as the best. In fact, he holds Terence Crawford at a higher standard than even Floyd Mayweather. That is what he said. He believes that Crawford is a better boxer than Mayweather. A lot of people like Floyd, a lot of people hate Floyd, but to exceed the skills of another GOAT from a respectable fighter like Canelo Alvarez is such high praise, and it's great to see Canelo humble. For a boxer who doesn't lose that often, it is commendable to see Canelo so humble after losing all of his belts in his weight class where the opponent met him. Where Canelo had all the advantages. He was the favorite going into it. But Crawford defeated him in his own domain. Interestingly, Crawford was the one who delivered with the more respectable power punches. The reactions out of Canelo from some of Crawford's biggest shots were quite different than the other way, specifically at the end of the fight. 10 seconds left. This was a definitive moment that proved that Crawford not only was the better boxer of the two, but he can out-brawl Canelo. Most people believed if Crawford stood his ground with Canelo and took his biggest shots, that he wouldn't be there that long, and that he would have to stay elusive, constantly sticking and moving and just avoid Canelo's power punches the entire time. Look at how this moment disproves all of that. So the exchange begins with Crawford taking a wide outside step for a better lineup of the left haymaker. But this time he doesn't set up with a jab or a feint. He is exchanging power punches with an urgent, desperate Canelo Alvarez at the very end of a winning fight. Canelo knows he's behind. He essentially gave Canelo a favorable opportunity to win, only to reveal to him that he had no chance even in his style of a fight. Defeated him in his own domain. You can't get a more emphatic performance than that. Crawford could have spent the last 10 seconds moving around and jabbing, but he stood toe-to-toe with Canelo and traded shots, landing the left haymaker. Canelo's dropping his defenses for offense, and coincidingly lands a left hook himself. But look at the reaction. Both of them landed flush. Canelo starts ducking, whereas Crawford lines up another left hook as he is still holding that outside lead foot advantage. Lands that left hook as well, shockingly stumbles Canelo toward the ropes, and you can see how committed he is to try to knock Canelo out by bringing that left foot forward as he threw the punch. Canelo settled into the parallel stance and desperately swings a last-ditching left hook. This is the final punch that he needs to land or he loses the fight. And Crawford collides, where he could have effortlessly evaded. He's evaded many times throughout the fight. The one thing that most people were saying that Crawford would have to completely avoid is the trade punches with Canelo, and he disproved all of us who thought so. Whose lead hook is going to win? Of course Crawford's. He had better form, he didn't swing as wildly as Canelo did, and he's just the faster puncher of the two. Lands that shot flush across the jaw. You can't land a more perfect punch than that. Caused whiplash, but he was still there. He was still tough enough to continue. I believe Crawford would have ended many fighters with that shot. It's unbelievable that Canelo withstood that. At the very end of the fight too, where fatigue set in, he's more tiresome. Usually fatigue is a contributing factor for a knockout. You take the punch as you're tired, bracing for the punch is a lot weaker. And at the very end, Crawford lands a jab to keep distance, ultimately ending the fight off of that exchange. Canelo was thought to have the power advantage. He was thought to be better in the pocket, thought to be better with his counters, and the pressure was eventually going to wilt Crawford by the bigger fighter, but it didn't go that way. Crawford handled the pressure with absolutely no issue. He was sticking and moving with the jab, intelligently playing a cat and mouse game with Canelo, drawing him into that southpaw left cross, and effortlessly circling to the center of the ring every single time. A consistency that I did not foresee. I thought if Canelo was going to crowd him against the ropes, that Crawford could be stuck there because Canelo's ring cutting ability is pretty high level, but Crawford made it seem simple. And to be that calm and collected in the pocket with Canelo was a sight to see, man. I was worried for Crawford that he was going to get chinned in those moments because Canelo's usually so good at landing these crippling body shots or even knocking his opponent out cold with a precise right hand in those sort of moments. Crawford seemed completely unbothered. He was laser focused while also seemingly having the time of his life out there. This guy was smiling and laughing around the ring. It was as if he knew the outcome of the fight before it even happened. I mean, look at the pocket fighting between these two. So they settle in that range from Canelo's reaching left body hook that he focused on the entire fight. That was like his go-to move, but usually to intercept Crawford's movement. This time Crawford took the shot and stood right in front of Canelo, welcoming the standoff. Canelo must have been gleeing in this moment, just delighted to see Crawford stand toe-to-toe with him. Crawford throws a check right hook counter and uses that to momentarily pull down Canelo's head to combo with a short left uppercut. Now Canelo realized the mistake he just made. When he threw that left hook, he stepped on the inside of the lead foot, so when he tried to move out laterally to his left, he's trapped in by Crawford's lead leg. Their legs have overlapped each other. Canelo cannot move left unless he retreats. But given this confident position, he was not going to retreat. He was not going to let this opportunity get away. This is his domain. Standoffs, trading, exchanging in close. His counter style is emphasized in those type of fights. His abilities in close range are some of the best. So after trying to move to his left, he settles in front of Crawford and winds up for a right body uppercut. Lands the shot around the guard, but Crawford counters again with that short left uppercut, forcing Canelo into his shell. Now, there's different ways to get around this defense. You could try to just break right through it, and boxing is a lot more difficult than it is in MMA because of the bigger gloves. So he's trying to find these openings to attack with his left hand. So he throws a jab and probes it as a decoy up top, so Canelo's attention is going to be high up instead of to his body. And the opening that Crawford tried to fire through is to the center of the body. You try to get through the guard, but ultimately, Canelo's slight left rotation blocks and deflects the punch past his body. And now Canelo goes on the counterattack. And look at the difference between the way they throw punches. Canelo is swinging with these shots. He's delivering with all of his power, but recklessly. Crawford is throwing tight, perfectly formed punches, whereas Canelo is sacrificing speed for more force. And he's not only winging shots with all of his might, but he's also unbalancing himself as he does it, something you rarely saw from Crawford. Crawford made sure to try to keep his stance at all times and wisely rely on speed over power and certainty to land these punches. As the saying goes, speed kills. Now it is also 9 rounds in, and perhaps Canelo was feeling a bit frustrated, believing that he needed to score a knockout given these opportunities. So overswinging and a power reliance approach that late into the fight is necessary. Technically, exchanging punches with Crawford was less effective throughout the early part, so committing to the knockout made sense for him. It is more reckless, but he needed to make an effort to get the win. But that left hook misses. Crawford blades his stance, so the punch hits the upper back, and all Crawford does to counter is just shoot forward a left straight, connecting beautifully. That's a perfectly placed left straight right there. So Crawford continues. He elbow frames and pushes him away so he can pinpoint an opening for his left, and he fires a left uppercut coincidingly with Canelo's right hook. But there's a great difference in form. Canelo is swinging that arm from under with much worse telegraph, whereas Crawford keeps his arm bent and throws that left uppercut with as low telegraph as possible so he can get to the target first before that incoming right hook. And because he landed first, it naturally rotates his body to the left, allowing Crawford to use that left shoulder as a means of defense, blocking that powerful right hook from Canelo. Canelo follows up with another swinging left hook, and the form is like he's swimming, swinging his arms behind himself for maximum leverage. He's dropping his defenses for these powerfully knockout-intended punches. Lands that punch to the back as well, and from his stance, he hooks around the guard twice, so a left hook gets through, then the right hook as well. Knocking Canelo off stance, you see his left foot leave the ground and reposition to the right due to the impact of that right hook. So Crawford is showing Canelo that you don't need to be swinging wide for these punches like that. Keeping everything fundamentally sound and relying on speed is key in boxing. So the unbalancing caused by the right hook throws Canelo into the left uppercut, landing flush on the jaw. He then grazes a right hook across the temple. And here goes Canelo swinging wide once more. This time he partially gets around the guard, as Crawford rotates with the punch to decrease the impact of it, intelligently alleviates some of the power. But Canelo got the best sort of success right there, and he's on the aggression. So he walks forward, and Crawford is already pumping that jab to keep necessary distance, not only for defensive means, but also to open up angles for his offense. And Canelo takes another step forward with his right foot, putting himself into the parallel stance. Now Crawford did halt him with that jab. That could have been another reason why Canelo settled parallel, but that jab caused another effect. Canelo raises his guard and shells up once more. What seemed like it was going to be a heavier offensive approach turned into complete defense, resulting from that jab. But Crawford, seeing Canelo shelling up, gave him the signal to start loading up on his punches. All the talk was about Canelo's power, not as much about Crawford's. What Crawford made sure to show that his power could not be overlooked. He has the necessary range as the longer fighter to attempt to land at the end of these punches with maximum leverage. So he unleashes a barrage of bolo hooks and uppercuts. 2 of the hooks land, the uppercut misses, which gives Canelo a false sense of security to move forward and counterattack. And the reason for that was he was looking towards Crawford's left side. He wasn't able to see this oncoming right haymaker to the jaw that connected flush, and Canelo's left hook hits the back once again because Crawford rotated completely with his punch, following through with that shot, and Canelo eats it, man. That guy's got a chin. That was as flush of a power right hook as you could take, but he returned fire yet again. Crawford starts angling to his right and pulls away from a powerful right haymaker. He attempts to counter on the overextension, measuring off of his jab, so much more of a calculated counter than Canelo's. But he also mimics that same wide haymaker in which Canelo also pulls away from. And man, Canelo was getting desperate for the right hand. He was further getting off balance, committing with all of his power, but with a fundamental guard, Crawford blocks the punch, deflecting it over the head, causing Canelo to overextend. The shoulder rotated fully, and again Crawford makes sure to push away at Canelo for just enough space so he can land a precise left hook on the side of the head with no telegraph, following up with a short right uppercut. And that combination gets Canelo momentarily on the back foot for a retreat, but Crawford was still able to successfully reach with the left haymaker and swings at the body with the right as well. That one gets partially blocked by the elbow. This other exchange was pretty cool as well. Canelo fires from long with a darting right hand, which was one of his best attacks. So Crawford tried to intercept him to keep him at the end of his jab, but Canelo was still able to barrel his way through, landing the right straight from distance, pivoting right in front of Crawford. He has his guard up and Crawford is on the counterattack. He throws a left uppercut, right hook combo. Both punches miss as Canelo is moving forward closer to Crawford. He throws a short left hook to the body as he's getting clinched up. His right body hook gets blocked, and dropping that right hand naturally for the punch left him defenseless for Crawford's in-tight left uppercut to land flush, and gets a pretty big reaction out of Canelo. So his head whiplashes, and then he gets fully defensive by ducking his head, bringing up that right hand to block himself, and pushing away at Crawford for space. Canelo normally did not want to create space between him and Crawford. Him pushing Crawford away was definitely a rare sight. Crawford got that respect out of him right there. But Canelo was able to land some decent shots as well, faking his right straight to get Crawford to tighten up his guard, angling a swift left uppercut to line up his right straight, keeping his head off of the center line, slipping on the outside of that jab. But as mentioned before, Canelo had great success with those intercepting left hooks, even landed one clean on the side of the head, reaching around Crawford's guard and still able to quickly get away from the counter left haymaker, rolling his head with the punch. But that roll was not perfect. It didn't work every single time. There was a pretty funny moment where it was as if Canelo could not believe that Crawford was able to land a punch against that rolling defense. So Canelo begins the attack with a decoy left hook distracting Crawford, but also using it to pull down the lead hand, opening up the defense for that powerful right straight to blast through. But the combination was obvious for someone like Crawford, who simply stepped away and slipped on the outside of it, carrying over that left hook with no telegraph, blasting through Canelo's jaw. And the punch was so good that Canelo gave him a look as if he was like flabbergasted he got hit like that. He could not believe that Crawford landed a shot on him like that. He was for sure thinking, man, I gotta give it to him. This guy is good. So as you can see, man, Terence Crawford is just a very special boxer. He has mastered the fundamentals. He is one of the most skilled boxers I've ever seen. And to soundly beat Canelo in his division, fighting under these disadvantages, debut at super middleweight, he was the one that moved up, didn't compromise on the weight class. Crawford just said, you know what, I'm going to fight you at your best in the weight class that you want, and I'm going to beat you at your own game. It's exactly what Crawford did. You're the power puncher, I'll show you power punching. And Crawford definitively outboxed him for most of that fight. And that is the breakdown. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did, make sure to give it a like, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video.